How SafetyChain helps, especially around visibility, knowledge, and control, right? Hopefully you saw a couple examples here today. Ensuring compliance. You have a great program in place today. Guarantee it. Every one of you, the reason you showed up is because you may or may not be looking to help your programs get even better. But you showed up because you care about your programs and how you might actually access that data. Controlling costs. It's simple. Get access to that information, right? That information may not just come from a mobile phone. Maybe it comes from a piece of equipment. Maybe it comes from a Bluetooth probe. The idea of pooling all of that data together, giving you not only data for root cause analysis, but then to ultimately, as Jill kind of ended up on, reduce those risks as well, right? Which I know we're all hypersensitive about, let's say. Just a brief, it's fun. I know some of you are on the phone. Actually, some of you may see your own logo here on the phone. But the idea that we do this for large and small organizations. The reason I point this slide out is because we're very proud. What you just saw today was a live functioning system. We don't go and custom build these solutions. We've spent years and tens of millions of dollars creating a baseline. Just like the question you asked about the programs. Hey, could that support another program? We designed it with that exact question in mind. We designed our system with the exact question in mind of what's your auditor going to ask for? They're going to ask for the documentation, they're going to ask for the form, and they're going to ask for the records. And then we ultimately designed it with the idea of what's your CEO, what's your COO, what's your CFO want to see out of a system like this. It wants to see that data, those reports. It wants to be able to allow you to lower those trends and ultimately produce a better profit margin, right? And just to give you a final piece of SafetyChain, the suite, I kind of hit on a bunch of different areas today, but it can be broken down as well, and this is important. Many of you will come to SafetyChain and say, hey, you know what? Right now, my main component is food quality, right? My main component is supplier compliance. Hey, my main component is we have a bunch of PLCs on our floor that can generate data. Can you help us with that? Yes, we can, right? So the idea that these can be, yes, it's one system, but they can be broken out into different modules and ultimately give you any of that data that you're looking for. Just to hit on that as we move forward. So Jill, I think this brings us back to where you wanted to just give a couple good examples. How about that as we go through a couple of good examples here? Real world examples for the crew on the phone, and we'll wrap this up.
Wrap up from there. Yeah, no, that's great. And I think really the idea here is, one, of course, to show you what can be achieved, but also, again, from a data, what is data, what the results can be achieved with that. So we just have a couple quick case studies here that we'll go through, Dave, if you want to move on, and just sort of the results that are being achieved. You want to take us through this one?
Yeah, sure. So big ag processor. I think everyone on the phone can probably read, but the idea that I'm sure every one of you can track customer complaints. The idea with the utilization of our system, it dropped customer complaints by 58%. That was because the system was capturing issues earlier, right? Not only that, think about that increased acceptance rate. So these folks are actually shipping cargo ships around the globe, right? Coming in, making sure that things are they are compliant, I should say. The idea that this has really driven a bottom line value, right? Of not having to go retrieve that or logistically reroute that ship because of a container full of whatever it might be. But this was a big deal, and a big deal that continues to be tracked across our customers, not only increasing that customer satisfaction, but at the same time, helping the bottom line value. In this case, it was around shipping and testing and making sure the proper requirements were made for wherever that customer may live in the country that they actually incurred the product with. Another example, Jill? I didn't know you wanted to add to that.
No, let's just keep going in the interest of time. I think the idea here is we just want to show you a little bit ways that the system is being used and the results throughout the supply chain. So go ahead.
Yeah, this is another good one. I know many of you on the phone, like I said, or have had the opportunity to speak, the pleasure to speak with some of you. Many of you have multiple facilities. How do you get insight into those facilities that they're actually running properly, that they're actually doing those programs that you have put into place? The idea that this organization was spending hundreds of hours a year in travel in between 6 and 7 different facilities, making sure things are being done, reviewing the documentation, reviewing the records, reviewing the data, reviewing the information. Number one, we cut down that travel time. So think overhead costs, just cut down. person can log in from anywhere to see this information, make sure it's running properly. But also this combination of driving program standardization, or some people will call it harmonization, and that ability then to leverage that data to have better performing operations, right? So the idea that not everyone's doing it the same way, it's tough to aggregate and pull all that data together. Where it is possible to do it all in the same way, it's a great way to start to pull that data together and use it for reporting and trending. This is a pretty easy one I think many of you will be aware of, right? What happens when you miss a CCP check? What happens when that CCP check hasn't been done? Maybe it's a metal detector. In this case it was glass and brittle plastics. The idea that many times you have to put that on hold, right? Maybe you have to rerun it through the process, through the metal detector. Maybe you have to rework it, right? The idea here is that the system, again, is monitoring those programs, making sure that those CCP checks are being done. In this case, they're, the idea that product may actually have to be discarded, waste, right? And in this case, that's what we're talking about, making sure those programs are being done, so no CCP is being missed, and that there is no loss of product as things go through your process, right? Or overhead, or rework, or extra man hours. There's many things that go into the bottom line of this in guaranteeing that things have been done in a real-time process. And I think this is the last one, and I apologize, Jill. I seem to have gotten on a roll, and I'm over our time, but the idea that this is the last one here, where again, I talked briefly about PLCs and monitoring actual data, the idea that an organization is using our system in their clean in place equipment, right? The idea that we're not only monitoring water usage, everyone on the phone has a sustainability initiative, I know that, right? So not only that sustainability initiative, but then also that ability to monitor chemical usage, electricity usage, right? The idea that our system has delivered back over $1 million to this organization just around capturing that data and being better able to fine-tune that information and fine-tune their processing, right? So automation can definitely help. We believe the driver of automation, for every one of you on the phone, you didn't come here, I'm assuming, if you did, you'll have my email here in a moment directly. If you came here with a check to buy software today, that'd be great. But what we understand is you're going to turn around and go, hey, why is this valuable to my organization? And these were just a couple brief examples of how it has been valuable. Every one of you may have a different scenario, and that's okay. The idea is that we're more than willing to walk through these scenarios with you, uncover that information, as time permits, but it is we're seeing this data just being highly leveraged throughout organizations to show bottom line value back to the organizations, which for many of you should be good, right? You always want to produce that bottom line value back to the organization.
SafetyChain. Reduce risks, control costs, ensure compliance.